Hi, thank you for joining me today. I thought I would take this opportunity to refresh everyone on the dangers of distracted driving. Nothing you see or hear in this refresher training is new or earth shattering. My hope is simply that you take this training, it will give you a moment of pause, and you take the time to really think about your driving habits so you stay just a little bit safer out there on the road. Just a short summer ago, this young 17-year-old driver made a poor driving choice. This Ford Ranger, built Ford tough, rolled 3 times before stopping against the embankment on a road in Tucson. She and her 2 friends walked away from this single vehicle crash. Her family attributes this to angels and seatbelts. Now we will watch a short video highlighting the devastating impact of distracted driving.
We never thought we'd bury our son Paul on his 23rd birthday. Distracted driving affected us.
Paul was our oldest son, and he was a very affectionate young man, and just even through the years, he was just the cuddly kid, and he loved people.
We did everything together. He was a huge sports nut. Husker football, Denver Broncos football.
He used to call me every day walking from campus back to Phi-Sci, and he always ends his conversation with "I love you."
Hello. I'm sorry, I thought you were calling there. Just want to call and say I love you. I haven't talked to you in a while because, yeah, I've been super busy. So anyways, yeah, sounds like you're at lunch or doing something more important than talking to your son. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to call and say I love you.
Paul and his fiancée graduated from Iowa State on May 10th with a degree in aerospace engineering. They were married 2 weeks later on May 24th, and then they started together at Boeing Corporation on July 11th.
Paul and Sarah were in Phoenix for an award. Sarah was named one of the top 20 aerospace engineers in the country. Raytheon was putting on this award ceremony, and they were headed to that conference early that morning.
And tonight we are learning a lot more about this fiery wreck on I-17 this morning.
Sarah's mom called me shortly before 8 in the morning and said the kids have been in an accident. Paul's been taken in the first ambulance. He's unconscious and it's not good.
An emergency room physician was on the phone and said that we lost Paul. And I remember begging her, just absolutely begging her to please, 5 minutes, 10 minutes more, please, this is our only son, he's my only son. Can't you at least try for just a few more minutes? And she said, I'm sorry. We have done everything we possibly could.
I remember just yelling into the phone, and I didn't think I yelled, but my brother happened to be home at the same time with me, and he came flying into the room where I was. And so when people talk about the screams of a mother, I get it. I get it, because your whole world just came crashing down.
We want to do everything we can to honor Paul's memory and his legacy, and sharing his story is one way that will help us do that.
We don't want other families to go through the hurt and the loss that we suffer. It's a hole in your heart that never goes away, and nobody wants to live with that.
We have to pay attention when we're behind the wheel. Life is too important.
Whatever that text message is, that phone call is, whatever it is, it's not worth your life or the life of anyone else. Life's more important.
Although technology is certainly a leading cause of distracted driving, talking on the phone and texting aren't the only contributors. The list is long. Even technology in a vehicle designed to help us can be distracting. Adjusting vehicle settings, watching TV, turning on the massaging seats, fiddling with navigation, changing the media type. Other factors include your mood, the weather, trying to take a selfie, drinking, eating, and driving impaired, being hangry, applying makeup, shaving, reading. Even people and kids in the vehicle are distractions. Pedestrians, cyclists, and animals on the side of the road, the sun in your eyes, and dogs on laps. Generally speaking, anything that takes your attention off the road and your eyes off the road is a distraction. There is no such thing as multitasking.
With life getting more demanding and hectic all the time, it seems there's only one way to cope: multitasking. Gurus and life hackers make a living telling us how to get better at it. But can we actually multitask? The term was first used in the 60s to describe computer performance. The human brain, though, is not a computer, and human attention is a very limited resource. Some psychologists model visual attention as being like a spotlight. It can only be shone in one direction at any one time. Our primary focus, what we're paying most attention to, is like the brightly lit area in the center of the beam. It can also be understood as being like a zoom lens. We can choose to narrow our focus to concentrate in detail, or widen it to be aware of more things simultaneously. But we can't be zoomed in and out at the same time. Even though we're constantly receiving a huge amount of information from our senses, it's only possible for a small amount to make it through to conscious awareness. Watch the next section very carefully and pay particular attention to how many balls bounce in the circle. How many can you count? 7, right? But did you also notice that little dinosaur? What about the changing shape of the circle? Or the smiley face on one of the balls? This shows just how powerful focused attention is. Being able to filter out irrelevant detail is an amazingly useful tool, but it means we can miss things that are right under our noses. An effect known as inattention blindness. You can see this very clearly in the famous invisible gorilla experiment. When asked to concentrate exclusively on how often basketball players in white pass the ball, most people completely miss the gorilla walking across the screen and beating his chest. We just don't have the capacity to process everything at once. This is a particular problem when we try to multitask. We can switch attention from one task to another and back again. But when attention is overloaded, we miss things. And the result is nearly always that we perform tasks less well than we would doing them one at a time. It's only truly possible to do 2 things at once if they require different sets of cognitive resources. For example, it's totally possible to read a book and listen to music at the same time. Which would suggest that driving while talking on the phone is not a problem, as long as it's a hands-free phone. It's not that simple, though. Research has shown that while talking on the phone, we have a tendency to create mental images, and this uses the same visual resources needed for driving. And if visual resources become too stretched, it's perfectly possible for a driver to look directly at a hazard, but, just like with that little dinosaur, fail to see it. Not everything will make it through to conscious awareness. So multitasking makes us at best inefficient, and at worst, downright dangerous. If you're feeling like you should be doing 17 things at once, remember, that's just not the way your brain is wired.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to receive notifications for new videos. See you again soon.
Just looking at this by the numbers, every year more than 400,000 collisions occur because of distracted driving, and most of those collisions result in injuries. More than 3,000 individuals are killed every year in collisions caused by distracted driving. Number 1 cause of work-related deaths is still vehicle collisions. But here's what we know. 100% of distracted driving collisions are preventable. There are a number of things that we can do to help prevent these collisions. Use your cell phone only for emergencies. I recommend putting it out of reach or even using an app that turns it off and signals to the caller that you're driving. Don't eat or drink while driving. Set your GPS before you get on the road for your trip. For goodness sakes, take the pet off your lap and out of the front seat. They're safer in a kennel or in a seatbelt harness for them. Always practice defensive driving. That means watching ahead for potential issues. There is just no need for a selfie while you're driving. It just doesn't make sense. This isn't spa time. There's no room for grooming or hygiene in the vehicle. Skip the reading. Maybe try an app like Audible. Listen to your book, even though that still might divert your attention. Limit the number of passengers when you can. Less activity in the car means less distraction. And keep your eyes on the road. This month is National Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and the National Safety Council has its own story to share. Megan was 22 years old and pregnant when her vehicle was struck by a driver texting while driving, and she was killed. Megan also left behind a toddler, Paisley. The impact of this devastating and catastrophic event is long-lasting and will never be forgotten. I didn't want to leave you without what Paul Harvey refers to as the rest of the story. Even rainbows and puddles can lead to distracted driving. This collision occurred during monsoon season right after a heavy rainstorm. The kids decided that they would go chase rainbows and splash through puddles. So in essence, joyride. The driver hydroplaned on the first puddle, was almost able to correct, and hit the second puddle about 15 feet in front of the first puddle. Fun over. Spread the word to family and friends and colleagues. Distracted driving is dangerous and it can kill. Thank you again for your time today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Risk Management.